Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Speaking the Truth About Money with Martin Coward and Joy the Wise Woman. No, Tara is not Joy the Wise Woman. I am Joy the Wise Woman. I am Martin. That is my human name. And Joy the Wise Woman is my avatar. That is the name of my divine presence, my spiritual name, if you will. And I am delighted today to have Tara Gooch as my guest. She is she's a brand coach. I mean, she's an expert in branding, particularly in the world of social media, which is so important today because that's where we live today. We live in the world of virtual space.
Yeah.
And we need people like Tara who have a passion for helping us get our message out, get our brand out in a way so we can make a bigger impact in the world. That's the value of it. So she's going to tell us a little bit about her story in a minute because I know that I want to know. First of all, I want to know how'd you get into this? What tell us a little about your story about how you got into and understood really how valuable it is to have a good brand about who you are and what you do and why.
Ooh, such a great question. Well, it's a kind of a long story. So, several years ago, maybe 7 years ago, maybe a little longer, I decided to start my LinkedIn journey. And I worked on it every day. And at the time, I didn't even have an agenda, right? So I just knew every week I'm going to maximize my LinkedIn connections. I'm going to build my network. And again, I wasn't even posting. Like I didn't know what to do, right? Because at the time there was no such thing as a personal brand coach. So I had no idea what to do, but I just worked continuously on it. And I saw that, in the future, I just keep chipping away at this enough, there's going to be an opportunity. I didn't know what that opportunity was. I just knew this is where I needed to focus. So, at the time I was in corporate America, and it wasn't until March of this year that I decided full-time entrepreneurship going forward. Well, one of the reasons I decided that because I was working as a sales director. So, in a corporate environment, I was a sales director. And at the time, I had about 17,000 LinkedIn connections. So this would have been prior to March of this year. And my boss at the time wanted me to basically market the company for free on my page. Well, and basically divorce my personal brand and just market the company. I knew that was not where I needed to be. And
Mhm.
something told me that my personal brand is worth much more than a salary. So I made a shift and I said, okay, it's time to monetize this. It's time to bring this to light. I think I can do it. Again, I didn't even know what it was that I
Mhm.
needed to do. I just knew that that I had some type of superpower that needed to come unleashed, right? And ultimately help others. So I decided to explore LinkedIn even more and develop this personal brand. Well, it has since opened the floodgates of opportunities for me in ways I can't even really put into words. But it goes to show you that every people are watching you. Either if you may not even realize it or not, but people are watching and waiting for you to just step out and become a better version of yourself so that they can work with you and for you, right? And when you do that, when you put yourself out there and when you develop this personal brand, this persona, this online presence, there is no shortage of opportunity, folks. So it doesn't matter where you are in your career or life. If you're a job seeker, that's how you get in front of decision makers. Or if you're a coach like us, that's how you get in front of clients or business partners or investors. It doesn't matter where you are. Or you could even be a business owner already who's successful, but sees kind of a stagnation in sales or growth of the company. Well, one of the ways you can do that is by developing your presence on platforms just like LinkedIn and other social media. So it starts with a personal brand, though. And again, nobody knows you exist if you don't tell them. You have to really put yourself out there, Martin. And, I read a book this year. It's Grant Cardone's book, The 10X Rule. And in there, he has a quote that says, best known will beat best. And what that means is it doesn't matter if you're the best. You could be the best coach of all time. If nobody knows you exist, they can't find you.
Right.
You have to put yourself out there on social media and be at that like top of mind awareness and then really develop your brand. But that's where it starts. You can't be at top of mind awareness and not have a personal brand. You can't grow a business without a brand or have it succeed long term. You have to develop that personal brand because guess what? People buy from those they know, like, and trust. And when you develop that persona, it leads to that trust, it leads to that likability, and eventually that delivery of that product or service because people buy from people. They don't buy from faceless corporations. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. And one of the things that I like to talk about, too, I love that as a great way, very clearly understands it. And I'm right there with you. I got started in this really back during the pandemic when I came online. The show was originally called Noonday Meditations and Contemplative Prayer Meditation Hour, something like that. And what I did was I decided I was going to go live every day, Monday through Saturday. I didn't do it on Sunday, for an hour to teach people, to bring people into meditation, into contemplative prayer, to help sort of have a kind of a refuge, if you will, from all of the turmoil around COVID and the pandemic, because people were scared, and we were being pushed into virtual space. Now we've kind of gotten into it. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, virtual space has become a lot more real than the actual space, because when you live in that zone of genius, when you live in that higher realm of consciousness, you realize that we're all one anyway. So when you're able to like experience people living or dead, it doesn't really matter when you're experiencing. If I'm listening to an old podcast of Ram Dass, for example, I'm into the moment with his meditation. He's been dead for a few years. It doesn't matter. We're still living together.
Yeah.
Energetically, we're still living together. So I started that back in those days, and it's evolved over. But that's how I got to be known as this kind of crazy gay guy out there talking about meditation and contemplative prayer in the middle of this pandemic. And do you know, I had people all over the world that would tune in every day, and they've told me that I saved their life because they would count on coming to this every day at noon as a refuge, because it was just so much confusion and fear in the world, particularly in those days, in the early days. And it was funny. I just saw, I came across my Facebook profile a little while ago, one of my episodes 2 years ago, when I was talking about what was going on in the state of Georgia. And so it just proves that that's the point I was going to try to make here, is what you said earlier, is just start somewhere. Just start doing it. Just start going live, getting people to know you, getting comfortable in front of the camera, and create that awareness of what you do to make the world better.
Absolutely. You hit on so many knowledgeable points there, and number one, just like you said, so Ram Dass, he's not with us anymore, right? But what he did was he built a personal brand
Yep.
that carries a legacy.
Yes.
So that anybody, regardless of if it's 10 years in the future, 10 years in the past, 20 years in the future, it doesn't matter, can appreciate his work and remember him as he wanted to be remembered and what he wanted to be remembered for.
Yes.
But it came from a place of authenticity, right? And that's one of the pillars of a personal brand. Don't copy anybody else. Find something that works for you. What are you passionate about, right? And ultimately, that gets you aligned with your purpose. So, find your purpose, find what drives you, find that inner spark of desire within you. Talk about it. But first, you have to be vulnerable. And you have to kind of put some of that, we all have this now, those limiting beliefs, that self doubt, that fear of vulnerability. What if people reject me for my messaging? What if? And that so oftentimes just dampens us, and puts out that fire within. But I'm telling you, friends, when you do that, again, the floodgates open, because that's how you find your tribe. That's how you find aligned people. There's always going to be people that don't mesh with you, that don't fit with your values, that don't like you. That's fine. That's a
Yeah.
filtering mechanism. It's a filter. You don't want to work with everybody. You want to work with those people that are aligned with you, that share your same values, but you can only do that by displaying vulnerability and by talking about things that you really believe in to your core.
Yeah, I love that, because, and I love what you said about purpose.
Yes.
Because if I've got that North Star, if I've got my, break it all down as a coach for both, I think this is true. My mission in the world is to transform and save lives. That's my why. I mean, I have other, it gets a little more elaborate, but you break it down to,
Yeah.
when I wake up in the morning, I say, okay, what am I going to do? I am going to transmute fear into love, to transform and save lives. Nothing else matters. And if I go out and talk from that voice of authority, if I'm doing it from that place of love, and it's true to my mission to transform and save lives, you're right. I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't matter what anybody says. I know what I delivered was from my heart to transform and save lives and make the world better. Period.
Yes.
And you're right.
Period.
There are people who are just not going to go. They don't believe. It's not my job. My job is to be Martin Coward, this weird hippie guru, spiritual out there talking about living in your zone of genius, which is, we'll talk. Oh, we'll love to talk to you about that, because we're going to change the show pretty soon to around that name. But that's the reality. Is I am. You are, both of us, all of us that are really out there. Is we've taken the courage. I mean, I think Brene Brown says that sharing your story is the bravest thing anyone will ever do.
Absolutely.
That's where we're the most vulnerable, because people say, oh my God. And I always share my story with how I was and before and then after and that kind of stuff. And it feels a little vulnerable, but everybody's on a journey, and everybody needs to help to get unstuck from where they are. And that's what we do as coaches. We say, okay, I was there once. I know what that feels like. It's miserable. I struggled with money at once, almost of my life, until I realized it was just a story I made up about myself, that I wasn't good enough.
Yep.
And once I let go of this lie I made up about myself, I began to say, okay, I'm worthy. I don't need to go prove it anymore. I'm just going to get out there and talk about getting in. And when I got in that zone of genius, when I got into that heart space and I knew how worthy I was, I knew I had a mission in the world, and that was to help other people get into their zone of genius.
Absolutely. And you kept it authentic to yourself. But it is scary at first,
It's very scary.
It is. We as humans, we have all of these fears. But Martin, the only way you can grow is by doing things that are uncomfortable.
Right.
And that's part of what building a personal brand is sharing your story. And that's an aspect of it for sure. But do you have strategy behind it?
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I see a lot of folks that have really good intentions, and they think, okay, I know developing a personal brand is important. I've heard Tara say it. I'm just going to throw spaghetti at the wall and just see what happens. But then what's going to happen is they're not either genuine to themselves, because they didn't really figure out their why and their purpose, and they're just trying to copy somebody else, or they're not going to attract those right people. They're going to attract any and all attention. So developing a personal brand has so much to do with strategy too, right? And again, really getting down to the core. Who are you looking to serve? What clients do you want? What clients don't you want? How much of that story are you going to share, right? What's your content strategy going to look like to nurture those clients?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not going to tell anybody to share more than they're uncomfortable with, but share some. Start off with, a few failures. What did you fail with? Really big and hard? Because you know what? Nothing unites people like a story of failure, because guess what? Your clients are not succeeding right now. That's why they want to work with you. They want to work with somebody that is succeeding, but they're not. So share a story of a time that you failed, so that they can see, oh gosh, Martin or Tara failed even bigger than I'm failing right now, and look at how far they've come.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you start to really build that audience that trusts you and likes you, because they've seen how far you've come and where you are now. And again, if you do it from a place, like you said, from Ray Brown with vulnerability, leading with your heart, leading with good intentions, leading with those core values. That's when you start to, again, build that legacy over time. That's a personal brand. Personal brand is not a flash in the pan that's gone in 15 minutes. You're either going to tell your personal brand story or someone else is going to tell it for you. You already have a personal brand. Everyone does. But who's telling the story? Is it you or is it everyone else around you? So take that power back, folks, because honestly, you're the only one that should be telling your story. And if it's not coming from you, you're not going to get to that success that you want in life. And ultimately, it's not going to get you the opportunities that you're seeking.
I totally agree. And you see, I'm wearing a bow tie, and it is my brand. It is my personal brand.
I
And
like it.
it has been my brand since I was in college, really. I've always worn a bow tie. I mean, occasionally in life, I wore a long traditional tie, but not very often. And when I was in the mortgage business, when I was in the wealth management business, I was the guy in the bow tie. And I walked into an event, I was that guy in the bow tie, and they never. And it's I'm comfortable in it. It's kind of like Todd Herman putting on his glasses. It's Martin. I went to an event this week. The National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce had a big event on Wednesday night. Martin put on his, and when I put this bow tie on, it's like I step into my avatar. And I feel the confidence of Joy the Wise Woman.
Yes. And mine is red lipstick, right?
Yeah.
So you find that thing that is uniquely you. And I get women all the time on either Facebook or LinkedIn asking me, what is that shade? What do you wear? And I'll tell them, but I say, find your shade.
Yes.
Find your shade. What works for me may not work for you. So again, that's the personal, the really touch that goes into it. Find your shade, right? And it could be glasses, it could be a hairstyle, it could be lipstick, it could be a bow tie, it could be so many different things. But find that one specific thing that makes you shine at your best self. And for me, it was, October 2021 was the first time I put on red lipstick in my life. And it was at a client meeting in Palm Beach. And I got so many compliments that night. It gave me so much confidence. And I said, oh my gosh, when I first put it on, I remember looking in the mirror and saying, wow. And ever since then, it's been my thing. So find that thing that makes you say,
I
wow.
love it. I just came back. We want to answer this guy's question, but I want to just do one other thing. I just came back from my 50th high school reunion in South Georgia, and I hadn't seen people. I left Georgia when I was in college, and I haven't seen them. And I wore my bow tie to the big event, and people said, I think the dress code was snappy casual. And they said, Martin, you're not snappy casual. You're just snappy.
Ooh, I like it.
So I love that. Here's a question. Let's see what we can answer. Jeffrey Alvin, thank you for asking us a question. How can those of us happy in the corporate world still capitalize on creating and recognizing our personal brand? What would you have to say to that person?
First off, Jeffrey, beautiful question. So pertinent right now. So in 2022, this year alone, in tech alone, in the United States alone, we've had 67,000 plus layoffs in tech in the United States. Your corporate job is not secure. It's not, right? It's not. We just have to accept that. So regardless of where we are in our career, personal branding reduces risk. Okay. So in the event something happens in your career, you have a safety net to fall back on. Because when you create a personal brand, again, that people know, like, and trust, guess what? You may not have to apply to jobs because you have that network that already knows, likes, and trusts you. I got offered a job today, literally, to be a CEO of another company. I didn't apply to that job. It came on LinkedIn from a direct message. You never, ever know who's watching. But if you're a corporate professional, one of the best things that you can do for yourself or for your company is to develop a personal brand because it gains reach.
Mm-hmm.
Again, people don't buy from other companies that are faceless, they buy from other people. So if you want to increase sales, let's say you're a sales executive at the corporate level, one of the best things you can do is develop a personal brand and start connecting with people on a intimate level. And guess what? The floodgates open for you, right? So don't be afraid just because you are in a corporate setting to step out, develop a personal brand, show your voice. And if your employer doesn't support that, let me know and I can educate them on the importance of having employees that have personal brands, because studies have shown that the reach of a person compared to a business far exceeds any company reach that's known. Your personal brand carries everything. So again, just let me know if you need help developing your personal brand, Jeffrey. But absolutely, start today and make your pages personalized to you and your goals.
And they can be, and they could be, and they could even be in alignment with the corporation. If you're happy with
Yeah,
the corporation, I would imagine you're happy because the corporation aligns with your mission and your goals. And that's what
yeah,
you could talk about, is the reason is your personal brand. I'm here at XYZ Corporation doing this because we share this common value to make the world, whatever that is. And again, back to sales. Sales, the old idea that sales is a numbers game. Let me see if I can call 25 people and one of them might answer the phone and take a business call with me. That's not the world anymore. That's never been the world, really, but it's been a misnomer. The, Sales is a human connection game.
yes,
And so if you're a head of sales, if you're running a corporation, you want people to connect, like you said, you want people to connect with with you as a person in that corporation, because you represent that corporation. And you're the face of that corporation. So your personal brand, it means a tremendous amount to the success of you in that bit in your job and to the corporation, I would think.
absolutely. It's free marketing as well for your company. Because again, imagine somebody that has 20,000 followers on LinkedIn or wherever. Well, then all of your connections are going to wonder, well, where do they work? And all of a sudden it's free advertising for that company as well. So the absolute best thing a company can do is to let their employees develop their personal brands to share their values, what they believe in, for a lot of different reasons. It attracts customers, which increases sales, which grows business. But it's more than that. Folks, you're seen as a leader. And if you're seen as a leader, well, leaders follow other leaders. So now you're spending less money on talent, right? On recruiting. Oh my gosh, because top talent's now coming to you instead of you hunting for them. There's a lot of things that you can do to show up as a leader online that, again, open the doors for yourself and for your employer. But again, it's that safety net as well, so that in the event anything ever happens, like a layoff, you have something to fall back on. So crucial, so key.
Well, that was so critical. That was very part of your story too, when you were back as a sales executive not that long ago, and you had 17,000 followers, and your boss wanted you to give it your person. No, 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 no. My personal brand is worth more than this job. I'll keep my personal brand. I'll let the job go bye bye.
It was a risk, right? But it paid off.
But
And
it paid off, right?
just
So
2 weeks ago, I spoke at NASDAQ
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
because of my personal brand. The only reason I got to speak at NASDAQ was because I had a personal brand. That's it.
I love that. Well, I was
Yeah.
telling you earlier, I said, the name of the show right now, and it's being called Speaking the Truth About Money, because I was talking about, when I speaking the truth about money is really to let go of these negative beliefs we have about money and scarcity and have conversation about it. It's gotten a lot more evolved, and I'm shifting my brand from sort of heart space to zone of genius. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. It's all about getting into that higher level of consciousness of creative love energy. It's what Jesus called the kingdom of heaven. Now that would be really hard. It was hard enough to get people to get into understanding what heart space was. But I can't imagine how hard it would be to go out there and sell. Let me help you get into the kingdom of heaven. And what in the world is that going to do for me? But I have to say that since about a month or so ago, and someone said, Martin, what you do is you help people get in their zone of genius. I said, oh, that's what I do. And that's why you see
Yeah.
all of my branding is maybe come out as zone of genius coach. And I love it. It feels like me. It feels natural to me. And I'm thinking about changing. I'm going to change my podcast name and kind of rebrand it as around zone of genius coaching. What are some tips you might tell me if you're already got a personal brand and you're thinking about moving it forward and rebranding a little bit differently to be more aligned with your mission and your vision?
Absolutely. And so you hit on a couple points, and this goes back to the original comment. But when you have a personal brand, people follow you no matter where you go, right? Because they follow you as a person. So regardless of what you call it, if it's financial heart space or zone of genius, which I like zone of genius as well, people are going to follow it because they follow you, because they believe in you, because you're a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And you're showing up as your authentic self. Again, that's how you find your tribe, your connections, right? But rebranding it to Zone of Genius, well, it is a genius. You know why? Because it's more intuitive. I think people understand what that means a little
Yeah.
bit more. But also, guess what? When you rebrand, people get really anxious about rebranding. Oh my gosh, what if people forget or don't understand? Guess what? Use it as content.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
then
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
have a whole debut of Zone of Genius. Get people excited about you all over again,
Yeah.
because
That's a great
it's like
idea.
a new thing. And then people say, oh, I've got to check Zone of Genius out. I love Martin, love what he's done in the past. Now I'm equally as excited to see what Zone of Genius is about. Rebranding is awesome, and it's a great way to get new eyeballs on your stuff and to keep previous followers, subscribers, whoever reinterested, reinvigorated in that brand. So having an aligned brand and then rebranding, wow, it is a powerful thing, and use it as a content machine. It's awesome. I love it.
Wow. Thank you. That was really helpful. Now I've got a little more confidence. It is a little scary I remember when I actually added uh, Joy the Wise Woman to my page, and I was like, should I call Joy the Wise Woman? I said, I said, you know what? It's just part of my crazy hippie guru stuff. I'm going to call her the Wise Woman, and you know, I have a lot of fun with it now, and people can understand. I did it because people can really get a clarity between my ego thinking mind and the rational mind that we have to navigate the world, and then that higher level of higher, more efficient operating system from the heart, that zone of genius that we actually can make decisions and we can create and change the world. So, being going back and forth between a dialogue between Martin and Joy the Wise Woman, it can be kind of fun sometimes. I do it all day long. Martin's always asking, well, Joy, what should I do now? What should I do now? So I sort of enjoy that. But you've got a new workbook out.
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about that and what that was. What's that?
absolutely.
What we want to get a hold of, hands on that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is a new online program that I have developed to teach people how to develop a personal brand. And it's specifically with LinkedIn in mind, but you can apply it to any and all social media platforms. So, this program teaches you how to grow on LinkedIn very quickly, teaches you all about the algorithm, when to post, what time, literally breaking every single thing down for you. So, we talk about your ideal client avatar, how to show up for them as a leader, how to attract your ideal client avatar with content and marketing, how to position yourself in the market with whatever goal you have, right? How to develop that persona that people, again, begin to know, like, and trust, but with a strategy. So it teaches you how to do all of these things. And then once a week, we meet as a group cohort to support each other. And you know what? I did a poll just a few weeks ago, and the poll was, out of all my LinkedIn connections, what is your biggest struggle with LinkedIn? Well, the most of the votes came with reach. People couldn't get reach. This takes that away, because guess what? When we're working as this group, I want every single person to connect up with each other. And then when one member posts, I want every member to like and comment. It's automatically going to grow every single person's reach, And then I want other members to have each other on their live shows, right? All of these things. So again, it teaches you literally the basics. If you just signed into LinkedIn today for the first time, to if you're already a member and are experiencing a plateau or stagnation of growth, to anybody in between. Honestly, this could serve millions of people and again, help take you to that next level of success. Because I'm very similar minded as you. I don't want success for myself. I want success for myself, for my family. I want it for you. I want it for your family. But I want it for every single person out there because there is no scarcity. There's only abundance. But
Mm-hmm.
we can only have abundance by working together as a collective and by sharing information that's valuable that helps others. So I see a lot of people that are this close to success, but just need that extra push, that extra coaching, guidance, and really that'll take them there.
Well, how does someone get a hold of that workshop and that workbook and get to working with you?
Absolutely. So you can visit my website, www.bestbranding.solutions, and it's under courses. And I currently have a promo code success, SUCCESS, for 20% off. And there's also affiliate marketing. So if you can't afford this right now, if this is a hardship for you to afford, which it's a very affordable price, but still, I understand. Guess what? If you refer a friend, you get 10% off. So all of a sudden, you're getting paid to take my program. So anybody that signs up using your link, you can send them your personalized link and get paid to be in this. So it's about giving back, reciprocity, paying it forward. That's what I want to do.
Wowee. Sounds like a triple win. A win for
Yes,
you, a win for me, and a win for the betterment of the planet.
everybody. Yes.
I love that. Well, thank you. I'm gonna check that out myself because I would love to have some personal support from you to get my brand out there and get a bigger reach in LinkedIn than I have right now. So thank you for that. And
Yeah.
I want to let people know about something that I'm doing. I'm in a project right now in Africa to save the lives of about 1,000 LGBTQ people who are living in a pretty difficult situation and their life's in danger. And one of the things we're doing is we're taking the work I do into Africa to transform and save lives. And I've got a specific workshop. It's called the LGBTQ plus half-day hero's journey to your zone of genius. Because this is the thing I've discovered. I've taken this workshop into Africa, into a refugee camp where they have very little to eat, no light. And at the end of this workshop, they've had a transformation. They have gone into an inward journey in themselves and realized they're so much more powerful than they thought they was. They're not a victim of the circumstances. They're just in a certain situation at a certain time.
Yeah.
And I've been able to help them get into and you want to talk about something that would give you chills.
Yes.
Seeing these African men and women who are just brilliant. We call it Project Diamond Mine because they're like diamonds. These beautiful gay African men and women have got these huge hearts. And once we crack that open, wow. And that's what we're doing. And I started this project about a year ago with my current business partner now is Abba Henry. And when I met Abba a year ago, it was actually about a year ago this time, he called me in the middle of the night. He had been attacked by a couple of homophobic gang members who tried to kill him.
Wow.
And I ended up giving him a job in December and he was in my coaching program. And then I ended up hiring him a virtual assistant, and he had enough money to get financially free, independent. And he moved to Nairobi, and now he's my business partner, and he's helping me. And we're on a mission to bring in everybody else. And you know what? We're celebrating. We've brought out 22 people this year so far. And our goal is to bring out the rest of the 1,000 by the end of this time next year. And it's a great coaching. But what I'm doing is we're doing a free half-day virtual workshop where you can come in and be part of the program, get the same coaching they're getting, and get to know these people, and your lives will change. Yeah. And it's called the LGBTQ plus meaning our allies like Tara, hero's journey to that zone of genius, to that heart space, to that place, that unconditional love energy where you can empower yourselves to get out of the refugee camp And that's what we're doing, because that's all we have to give each other is the power of love. And that's what this workshop is about. It's about how do you let everything else go that you don't need so you can get exactly what you want by stepping into that zone of genius. And that's called, and I'll drop the link here for registration. It's a free workshop. All you got to do is register and show up, and we'll take care of the rest. So I'd love to have you in there, and it'd be a great opportunity for you to find out what we're doing, how do you participate, and it's coming up on 2023. Can you imagine if you were living in that zone of genius and you were living in your most creative, most productive? It's really about that higher level of consciousness. We all have that sweet spot in our own consciousness level where we're the most creative, the most predictive. We don't have any fear. We're at peace. We feel like we can do anything because we can. We're the creative. We are the creative life force of the world. That is what we are. That is our DNA, if you will. So it's going to be a really exciting workshop. I would love for you to join. I'll drop the link here for that. It's December 17th. It's a half day. And again, it's free. All you got to do is register. And we'd love to see you in there on that. So please join us for that. Tara, I'd love for you to join us if you can. And Tara, is there anything else? One more. I've gone over 5 minutes, which is, I don't care. It's my show.
That's right. When it's
and I can kind of do what I want to. And, like I said before, people say, well, Martin, I am an old hippie. I was in high school in the 60s and graduated in 72. So I'm an old hippie at heart. I was around for Haight-Ashbury and all that kind of stuff. So this is what an old hippie can become after in their later years of life, is how do we make an impact on the world? And right now I'm committed to saving the lives of about 1,000 of my tribe. So
I love that.
Yeah, I do too. I love what I'm doing. I'm really grateful for it. And I'm so grateful that you came on our show today. The wisdom and the love and your personal brand is just lovely. It's just lovely. And I can just feel your passion and for your mission to really, it's not, like you say, it's not about your own personal success as it is about doing something that's going to make a big difference in the world and make an impact. And as we move more and more virtual space, we need more and more people like you who can help move us into building those kind of relationships in virtual space.
Yes.
So thank you so much for coming on today with me.
Thank you so much, Martin. I appreciate it. And thank you for everyone that tuned in. Let me know if I can help you.
Okay. Well, thank you. And may love and prosperity prevail. So long for now.